G'day guys! Disney Dave coming at you once again from Down Under. Today I'm bringing you another add-on to my Disney Blu-ray and DVD collection. Of course, previously I have covered both the animated and live action segments of my collection, but to keep the video down in length just a little bit, I decided not to cover my Star Wars or Marvel titles. So today I'm doing this little add-on here where we can talk about all these Star Wars titles in my collection. Now, of course, Disney only acquired Lucasfilm about 5 years ago now, so some of these aren't actually Disney releases as they predate Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm. Of course, previous to the Disney acquisition, 20th Century Fox was the copyright holder and distributor for the Star Wars films, but because Disney now does own Star Wars, I thought just this once I'd make a little bit of an exception and showcase just everything that I've got in this collection here. The original Star Wars from 1977 is my favorite movie of all time, and the Star Wars franchise is my favorite franchise of all time, so I've got quite a decent collection here. So how about we go right back to the very beginning and talk about the very first set of Star Wars movies I owned. We're not talking about Blu-ray, we're not talking about DVD even, we are of course talking about the Star Wars Trilogy on VHS. This is the very first set of Star Wars movies I ever owned. This box set came out around 1999 to coincide with the Phantom Menace arriving in theaters. These are of course the special edition versions of the movies. This was the second release of the special edition Trilogy on VHS, and I do believe that one of the tapes actually included a sneak peek of episode 1. So we just open it up a little bit. I'm not going to do too much of this, but this is what the old VHS tapes looked like that I owned there. Absolutely fantastic. Not sure why The Empire Strikes Back has a black cover and the other two have white covers. And for all those people out there who are under 15 years old, this is what a VHS looked like. This is how we used to watch our movies when we were younger. That's nostalgia right there. So that's a pretty cool box set for back in its day. They actually did some really nice stuff with VHS sets. While we're talking about VHS, we might as well cover this. These were, of course, the very first 2 copies of the Phantom Menace I owned on VHS, and my dad went out and bought these for me on the day of release, and he bought the full screen edition and the widescreen edition for me because he didn't really know what version I wanted to watch. And I mean, that is just such a nice thing for him to have done, and I've always really respected him for that. And well, that sort of then set me on the path of buying multiple editions of movies. So that's where that all began. Just in case you were wondering, right there, we can blame my father for that. Of course, Star Wars didn't hit DVD for quite a while. It was many years later that the Phantom Menace was released on DVD. That was the first Star Wars DVD release, and everyone was clamoring for that. It sold out on pre-order and everything. And then even then, it was I think it wasn't until episode 3 was in theaters, or maybe just before episode 3 was in theaters, that they actually released the box set of the original trilogy on DVD. So we waited so long and we had to stick with the old VHS for quite a while. This was the very first release of the Phantom Menace on DVD. You can see here, even as a kid, I left stickers on everything. It's a little bit tattered and a little bit torn. This was a really nice DVD set. I mean, they put a lot of effort back in DVDs in those days. It had this little booklet with it and everything, which is pretty cool. You don't get that with even a lot of DVDs these days. And how cool is that? I mean, the artwork inside the cover there is really cool as well. Now, Attack of the Clones. I had this on DVD. Some strange reason this came in a slipcover. I have a feeling the slipcover was actually exclusive to Kmart stores in Australia. And there's the actual disc itself. Again, you can see that there's a sticker there. It is in pristine condition, probably because it was left behind this slipcover here. And once again, we open this up to find a really nicely designed package with another little booklet there and some really nice artwork in the cover. I mean, a lot of DVDs these days, you get no artwork there. So these are some really cool additions there. And then of course, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I remember picking this up. First day, I had to go out and buy it. First day from Easy DVD, I think it was. Once again, the slipcover, I believe, was exclusive to Kmart. My grandmother went to Kmart and bought the DVD, and I pinched the slipcover from her and put it on my existing copy there. Once again, as you can see, I've had a bit of an obsession with slipcovers from the very beginning. Once again, oh, there's a little, I don't know what that is. I think that was something that came with a newspaper, and I've just shoved it in there. Even this one came with a little booklet, some nice artwork behind there as well, and some really nice disc artwork there too. Now, the pride and joy of my DVD collection when I was a youngster was, of course, the Star Wars Trilogy on DVD. This was another thing that I actually pre-ordered. I learned my lesson. I pre-ordered this from Blockbuster, and I got a call about 3 days before it was set to hit shelves, and they said, your Star Wars DVD set has come in, and I was so excited. I was so excited. I've been counting down the days to go and pick this up from Blockbuster and to get that that phone call 3 days early is just the greatest thing on the planet. So there you go. This was the very first box set of Star Wars on DVD. These are, of course, the special editions of the movies. Actually, they're the DVD special editions because George Lucas went back and added extra stuff to them once again. So these are the original discs. That's the bonus material disc that you got with that. Of course, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And likewise, as the original trilogy ones, you got a nice little booklet inside here and some beautiful artwork under there too. And that is, of course, the same for all of the discs, and Return of the Jedi, of course, as well. There you go. And that was back when they gave you a bonus disc in a nice little cover too. Even the bonus disc came with its own little pamphlet. This is a really cool box set. This was probably one of the greatest DVD box sets ever released. This was absolutely fantastic, and it really is still fantastic because with box sets these days, with Blu-rays these days, sometimes you just don't get the full package these days. Now, as I said, that box set was, of course, the special editions of the movies, and they did not make the original versions of the movies, the original theatrical versions of the movies available on DVD. They hadn't been available since VHS many, many years earlier. George Lucas was being really frustrating about it, and he just wasn't releasing them. But people were complaining. Everyone was up in arms. Give us the original trilogy. Give us the original theatrical editions. And finally, George Lucas went, you know what, guys? Here's a big announcement for you. I'm finally releasing the original theatrical editions of these movies on DVD. Everyone was so excited. So then we, of course, all had to go out and buy all 3 movies again individually. He didn't do a box set. He said, you know what? If you want the original theatrical editions, you're going to give me more money. You have to go out and buy the special editions individually once again because the original theatrical edition was a special feature on these discs. So we got home, we opened them up. Ooh, special edition, ignore that. I've got that disc. There it is, the original theatrical edition. Pop it in the DVD player. And then Star Wars fans around the world felt a great disturbance in the force, as if a million voices cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. Because you know what George Lucas did? There always had to be a catch. And you know what he did? You know what he did? He didn't even go back and remaster. He went, all right, stuff you guys, you're complaining. I'll give you what you want, but I'm going to give you an old Laserdisc transfer. I'm not going to clean it up. We're going to put it in 4:3 letterbox so that if you have a widescreen television, a 16:9 television, you're watching this widescreen film in the middle of your screen. Oh my God, it was frustrating. It was absolutely frustrating. And that is still to this day the only version of the Star Wars original theatrical editions you can get on disc media, and they look like absolute trash. So Star Wars fans are still crying out, still wanting those original theatrical editions in a nice restoration. That's all we ask. We just ask for a nice HD restoration or a nice 4K restoration. It's not asking much. Hopefully now that Disney is in control of the franchise, they can finally do something about it and release those films at some point. There have been rumors for years that they are working on it, so we're just going to have to hold our tongues and just wait until then and see what happens. Whew, I'm a little bit flustered, you know. I'm a little bit flustered. I'm a little bit annoyed. Okay, now while we're still on DVDs, we're going to talk about a couple of cool little box set releases that 20th Century Fox brought out. Of course, Robot Chicken did 3 Star Wars specials, and they brought them all out on DVD, and there was this box set trilogy that you could get of them. I never really liked Robot Chicken, but the Star Wars episodes were absolutely hilarious, so I had to pick that one up for the collection, and they are fantastic. I really should revisit them again soon, I reckon. But even better, of course, was the Family Guy Star Wars trilogy. Oh my lord, these are absolutely hilarious. I have this on DVD and also on Blu-ray. Now, only because I remember picking this one up on special. I think I got it for about 15 to 20 bucks. So I bought that box set, and then maybe 5 years or so later, JB Hi-Fi did a warehouse clearance, and I picked this one up again for about $15, and I thought, look, it's worth the upgrade. This set was like $60 or $70 when it first came out. I thought for 15 bucks, I'm happy to upgrade it. The box sets are both exactly the same. They got this little inner slip there with the discs in it, and of course there as well. Now, of course, these were episodes of Family Guy which were exact copies of the original Star Wars trilogy, meticulously crafted. They were absolutely fantastic recreations of the movies using the Family Guy characters, and they went absolutely all out. Even when it came to this box set, what a lot of the newer collectors probably didn't realize is that they went so far as to duplicate the original DVD box set, as you can see. And look at that. That is absolutely fantastic, and that is great attention to detail. They have meticulously crafted this set to look exactly like the original DVD, and I noticed it as soon as I picked it up. You've got that there, which is really cool. That there is a little bit different, but you've got the text up the top and another little picture down there. That is just one of the coolest things, that they went just that extra little mile, that extra little nod to the fans that, well, let's give you a box set, which is exactly the same as the original Star Wars Trilogy box set there. Absolutely fantastic work. Okay, so finally let's get on to some Blu-rays. As I was saying before, we had to wait years until Star Wars arrived on DVD after the conception of DVD, and likewise, Star Wars took forever to come out on Blu-ray. I mean, at least 5 years we were waiting, and finally, the Blu-ray box set came out of the Star Wars complete saga. Of course, at the time, it was a complete saga, and then about 3 years later, they announced that they were doing more movies, and suddenly the complete saga is, well, an incomplete saga. Now, I imported this one from the US. The box set in Australia had the same artwork, except the inner sleeve here was actually just, it was about this big, and it was just all these sleeves of plastic with the discs inside it. And I like this one better because it has some nice artwork. I don't like it when they put discs inside these holders because they get scratched when you pull them in and out, and sometimes there's a bit of glue in there that tends to get on the disc. But these ones seem to be okay, and I just really wanted this awesome artwork that is inside this original release of the Blu-ray. If you bought it in Australia, you didn't get all of this. As I said, it was just like a stack of discs in plastic holders. So I had to get this for the collection. Really, really cool. The only thing that was annoying about this for newer collectors was that all of the special features from the original DVD releases were omitted from this set. The best thing was that there were tons and tons and tons and tons of new special features. Finally, they put the deleted scenes from the original trilogy in a set to own, but all of the really great special features from the original DVD set didn't make it over to this. So a lot of collectors who would have otherwise sold off the old DVD set ended up keeping both the DVD and the Blu-ray set to have the complete collection of special features. Of course, they've released these individually since in steelbooks. As far as I'm aware, I know in Australia they haven't released them individually in Amaray cases, but there are steelbooks for all 6 of the movies individually, and that's the only way you can buy the movies individually in Australia anyway. But I haven't picked up any of those steelbooks because I really don't like the artwork on them. Next up, we're taking a look at Star Wars The Clone Wars. This was the movie sort of pilot version of the TV series. As far as a Star Wars movie goes, it's really not great. I only sat through it because I sort of had to, because I wanted to start watching the series, and I watched this first, and I was just a little bit let down, to be honest. But to couple with that, of course, as I said, I wanted to watch the Star Wars Clone Wars series, so there it is. I imported this box set from the UK. The box set was available in Australia, but it was going for about $150 or $160 or something at JB Hi-Fi, but Amazon UK had on special for the equivalent of about $60 Australian once, and I thought I have to snap that up. It's got all 5 original seasons in there, the first 5 seasons. Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4, Season 5. The only thing missing from it is the Season 6, The Lost Missions. As far as I'm aware, they are only available in Australia. I haven't bought them yet because they usually go for about $50 at JB Hi-Fi, and I'm not willing to pay $50 for one sort of half season when I paid $60 for the complete 5 seasons. So I'm going to wait a little bit until that drops in price, and guaranteed it will at some point. I only started watching these recently, actually, previous to Disney taking over Lucasfilm and wiping the EU clean. I had no interest in exploring the expanded universe of Star Wars. There was just so much material out there, so many books, so many games, so many like little cartoon things. I just couldn't keep up, and I never really tackled it. But when Disney came in and they declared most of the old expanded universe non-canon, well, I thought, well, this is my chance to start exploring the expanded universe since we're starting from scratch. Now, one of the only things from the old expanded universe that remained canon was the Star Wars Clone Wars series, of course, because they're now doing the Rebels series, which is sort of a continuation of this in a couple of ways. And I thought, well, started reading the comic books and really enjoyed the comic books and really wanted to start exploring the new expanded universe since there just really wasn't that much material. Now, I really wanted to watch Rebels, but someone told me it's probably best to watch Clone Wars first because it gives you a bit of a backstory, and certain story threads and story elements from the Clone Wars series are picked up later in Rebels. Of course, Clone Wars was axed quite prematurely, and Rebels has given the creators a chance to go back and pick up on a few of the story threads that were left open in the original series. So I've been slowly trudging my way through this series. I'm enjoying it. I'm not loving it, but apparently it gets better, so I'm going to stick with it and see how I feel. Of course, I mentioned Rebels. I, of course, bought Rebels Season 1. This is the Steelbook, the Zavvi Steelbook from the UK, which is really awesome. I got this when it went on special for the equivalent of about $20. This is actually a Disney release. I'm really excited to watch this. I really want to get into it, but I'm determined to get through the Clone Wars first. I don't actually have Season 2 yet. It is available, but they haven't released a Steelbook of that through Zavvi yet. So I'm hoping that this year, this March, they'll bring out a Steelbook for Season 2 and I can pick that up as well when it goes on special. Now we are getting to the pointy end of the collection here. I only have a couple more titles to talk about. These are, of course, Disney releases. If you've been following my channel for quite a while, you'll know that I have these 3 releases. These are, of course, 3 different versions of Star Wars The Force Awakens on Blu-ray. As I was talking about before with the VHSs, which set me on a lifelong quest to collect multiple different versions of a movie, Star Wars The Force Awakens has wound up in my collection 3 times already. The first one I got my hands on was the US edition. Of course, as you know, I'm an absolute sucker for a nice slipcover. This was an absolutely beautiful slipcover on the US version there, and I just had to get my hands on that. And of course, being a Disney release with a Disney slipcover, had to get it. If you want to check out this in depth, there is a video on my channel where I do a little unboxing and review of this set. I then went out and purchased the Steelbook version of it. I don't particularly like the artwork on it. Well, the artwork on this is just as boring as the other Steelbooks I was talking about before, but because I got completely swept up in the hype for The Force Awakens, I went out and picked up the Steelbook in Australia, and I just had to grab it because it was a limited edition thing. You can't get your hands on that one now, but you can get your hands on those other Steelbooks. They've been available for quite a few years now. And then, of course, Lucasfilm did that thing that they always do, and, you know, 3 or 4 months after they release a movie, they release a special edition. And of course, in this case, Star Wars The Force Awakens, they released in 2D first, and then they made you wait a couple of months where they would finally release the 3D edition in a nice little box set. I don't care. I am accustomed to going out and buying multiple editions of movies, so buying it again for a 3rd time wasn't a huge issue for me. I just like to have some nice little box sets to throw in the collection. Likewise, I've done unboxing versions for the Collector's 3D edition and the Steelbook, and if you trail my channel, you'll be able to find them in the unboxings playlist. Whew, whew, whew. Whew. And that is it. I'm feeling a little bit dizzy now. It's really hot here in Australia at the moment. I've been talking for the last half an hour. It's summer in Australia, so I'm getting a little bit flustered at the moment. But that's it. That's my entire Star Wars collection on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray. Of course, when I add more titles to this collection, I will continue to do updates of my Blu-ray and DVD collection. So stay tuned for more Star Wars titles in the future. Of course, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, is coming out on Blu-ray within the next couple of months, and that'll be in one of my next update videos. And I will most likely do an unboxing for that set as well. If you liked the video today, please check out the other videos I've done on my collection. As I said, I have done a video for my animated titles, my live action titles, and there's a few update videos there that you can check out as well. And if you really liked today's video and you want to support me just that little bit extra, please, after the jump, hit subscribe, and I hope I'll see you on my next video, whatever it may be. To my regular followers, thanks again for joining me here today. And to everyone in general, I hope I see you again in the future. Until then, take care, and I hope you have a magical day.